Okay, we will call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the regular board meeting for the Marshtown Community School District. It's September 3rd, 2024. Welcome to those of you joining us here in person. Welcome as well to anybody who might be watching on the live stream or watching at a later date or time. We'll do introductions of the board members here this evening. Starting to my right, Zach Wall, Liz Wise, and Sarah Faltis. Board members to my left, Karina Hernandez and Maria Morales. Joining me here at the center table, Dr. Theron Schutte, the Superintendent of Schools, and to my right, Mr. Randy Denham, the Board Secretary, and I am Sean Heitman. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speakers table. I guess if anybody comes in and wants to fill it out and speak, I'll give them the spiel then. Would everybody please join me in reading the mission statement for the Marshtown Community School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, sir. We've got two items under the education section. One of those items, which would be 4.02, board member committee assignments, and then 4.03, approval of additional math curriculum. And we also have in personnel,
Good evening. I have a part-time educator who came out of retirement to fulfill a part-time position at MLA, and she didn't start on the designated date. She did start today because she was still on vacation as a retiree. Good for her. We did have initially a resignation from a paraeducator who then rethought that and has accepted the position, so rescinded a resignation. We did that, cross that off. And then finally, I did add a resignation from a teacher librarian who had signed a contract and then did not resign till July 15th, which if you understand the code of ethics, that we can hold them to that contract and time. And we have creatively filled the position with some substitutes, but we will move forward with some other sanctions based on the BOE allowable complaints.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Faltis Hernandez, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, opposed say no. Motion carries 6-0. Abby, do you have any recognitions this evening?
Not for this board meeting.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. We've got minutes from the August 19th board meeting. Jackie, I assume there's no other items of note in personnel? Okay. We've got interagency agreements and contracts, an addendum with Iowa Workforce regarding the teacher para apprenticeship program, a renewal agreement with Marshtown Community School District and Defined LLC, a counseling services agreement with Heart and Solutions, a 3-year subscription agreement with Arbiter Sports, and is this the math curriculum there?
Yeah, that's the separate agenda item.
Okay. Questions about any of those items?
Does that cover the middle school sports, the officials, or just high school sports?
It covers all, so yes.
All,
yeah.
all middle school too?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll take care of the officiating for all that.
Other questions? Looking at open enrollments, I think I counted these, there were 12, 6 out and 6 in. Randy, anything to note in bills?
No, not tonight.
Dr. Schutte, do you want to talk about the Union Pacific grant?
Yeah, I think I had shared with the board through communication earlier that I had made application to a grant I had found through the Union Pacific for $20,000 and didn't really have a very good feel one way or the other what our potential was for getting the grant. And I think the grant application period had stated that we might not find out till later this fall. So I was pleasantly surprised in the middle of the week to be sent a notice that we would be receiving that grant, and we should receive the check within a week to 2 weeks, I believe. So I'm in the process of working with probably Laser Graphics to create a sponsor graphic that we'll put on the wall to recognize that we'll probably have a separate photo op of some kind once everything is in place and that sort of thing. But yeah, it was a nice, pleasant surprise and some additional support for that project.
And then,
How much was the donation again?
20,000.
and then we've got some items, either food service and or foods classes would like to get rid of. Am I right about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
through the process of the renovations and it provided a great opportunity to clean house, so to speak. There were a number of items that the Family and Consumer Science Department wishes to declare of no value for the purpose of selling, donating, or disposing.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Baltus, Wise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Nobody's on the pink sheet, so goals.
Yeah, so we've got before you the proposed school board and superintendent goals for the coming year. I'm sure they look very familiar. We obviously had some conversation through this, and then Sean and Sarah and I worked through it. For the board, once again, focus on student achievement, focus on board learning and development, for which every one of our board members attained the individual annual board achievement award, which will be recognized at IASB this fall, and then consequently the team award too. And I think that makes 8 of the 9 years I've been here, or maybe 7 of the past 8 years, the sport has achieved it, which is pretty amazing. And then, continuation of trying to do everything possible to be transparent, clear, consistent with communications, being present and visible at district events and that sort of thing. As far as superintendent goals, I'll be continuing to work with my team to put forward some meaningful presentations to the board, especially presentations that would connect with data points that we have. And then this fall here, you'll be reviewing, providing input, and then hopefully approving 5-year strategic improvement plan for the district. I will continue to work with Abby on our pursuit of knocking out all those goals for the communications marketing plan that were identified by INSPRA a few years back. Abby's done a bang-up job at addressing many of those. And then continuation of both the completion of ongoing projects, for which we'll be touring one of those tonight, and then the pursuit of hopefully having a successful bond referendum and Reimagine Miller Facilities Improvement Project in the coming years.
Other questions or comments?
it was a good process.
Okay. Well, those are the goals. I don't think we don't need to formally approve those, do we? Don't we just, they're not on as an action item anyway.
We'll just march forward.
Okay. And then we've got board member committee assignments there. So it's committees plus also negotiation, meet and confer groups. I tried to get everybody, most of the committees that they wanted to be a part of. We couldn't quite make everybody happy, but that's the way it goes. So yeah, there's those. If you have questions or comments.
Just as a side note or reminder, and I know it's still early since IASB isn't till November, but as soon as you know, and many of you, most of you have already shared with Maria and I what your intentions are regarding attending the conference and or pre-conference sessions. We particularly want to get people signed up for those pre-conference sessions so they don't fill up ahead of time. But let us know if you haven't, and I believe Maria started last week getting people registered, so you may have been, for those that are registered, you probably got
Got the email.
I
confirmation.
did get a
Yeah.
notification.
Yeah.
So as those committees start meeting here this fall, you should be getting notifications that those are taking place so you can attend and participate. Okay. Math curriculum?
We need to approve the committees.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the committee assignments for the 24-25 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Was that Leah first? Okay. Stanley Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Math curriculum.
Yeah, so as you know, we had a major math curriculum adoption this past year under the leadership of Mrs. Shauna Smith. During that process, as we always do, we also take into account supplemental materials for special needs, the special needs program as well. And somehow, some way, something didn't get communicated effectively where when we had some training a week or two ago with our math teachers on the supplemental curriculum or special ed math, they came to find that there were not enough supplemental like teachers manuals and materials for every single teacher in the special ed department. They had basically, McGraw-Hill had only put in the quote, 1 per grade level. So we apologize about the late notice. The concern with holding off another 2 weeks is, I don't know how long it's gonna take to get these materials. Obviously, we're trying to have them rushed, but if we waited 2 weeks, that'd be 2 weeks long, that the teachers wouldn't have these things available. So Matt would normally be talking about this, but he was a little under the weather, so I gave him the night off. The quote for the K-12 special ed teachers supplemental materials, which is called Number Worlds, amounts to $62,258.46, and these would be paid out of special education funds.
Questions? Then is there a motion to approve the purchase of additional math curriculum in the amount of $62,258.46 as presented?
So move.
Second.
Morales, Wise? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we've never made it to policies in 15 minutes before. So.
I think it is.
All right, for first reading, policy 103, long-range needs assessment. We're recommending this be amended in the deletion of a paragraph because it's somewhat redundant. It talks about the selection of people for this role, and we've always utilized SIAC for that purpose, which is also indicated within that policy. So we're simply recommending that paragraph be deleted. That would come back. Oh, that is coming back because that was presented to you at the last meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
So I would recommend board approval of that amendment and waive the second reading, please.
Are there any questions? Then is there a motion to amend 103 and waive the second reading?
So moved. Second.
Faltus, Wise. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0.
The second policy is the IASB policy, I think for the most part regarding AI or artificial intelligence. Amy proposed that we bring that forward kind of as a starting point to start to get policies and in the future administrative regulations established as we start to move into this new era of technology. So I would recommend board adoption of this new policy and waive the second reading.
Are there any questions?
Is this an ISB policy or is this one we come up with ourselves?
It's IASB.
Okay.
Did we make any adjustments to the IASB policy?
We did because some of them, actually, let me go. We took out a couple paragraphs of IASB only because they refer directly to guidelines that we should create. So once we get those guidelines created, then we'll bring back this policy to point to those guidelines basically and possibly add those 2 paragraphs back in.
So you may amend it is what you're saying at some point?
Yeah, the plan is to amend it to reflect new guidelines that we'll come up with for teachers and staff, and that PD we plan to have in January.
Yeah, and I want to commend, I know that Amy, Shauna, and others have been spending a lot of time looking at what exists out there, trying to figure out what will be best for our district. And so you'll definitely see more come forward in the form of either administrative regulations to the policy or amending the policy, as Amy has said.
Other questions? Then is there a motion to adopt 60506R2 and waive the second reading?
So moved. Second.
Wise, Morales. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. And then Karina had initial review.
Can be passed. So 103-31, long-range needs assessment process, no changes. Mark as reviewed, as well as 103.1, school improvement advisory committee, no changes, mark as reviewed. 103-R2, early childhood progress, parental notification, amend, deleting phonetic awareness language, phonemic awareness language. And then 903.02-E1, school volunteer application, updating HR contact, mark as reviewed.
Questions about any of those policies?
Just a suggestion on 903.02. I don't know if we've ever thought about when we set up, when we sign up the kids for school, could we have this form in there if parents want to fill out at that time? Otherwise, going back later and trying to make sure that, parents fill it out later, just more of a, hey, let's do it at once if they want it. Just a suggestion. I don't know if you can or not, so.
Yeah.
During registration, yes.
So you're asking
So what I'm asking, like, is that during registration, can we have this form in there optional for a parent? Some parents know they're gonna probably volunteer in some capacity. Can we have that in there then versus later on, we volunteer as a parent, hey, by the way, you need to fill this out?
So we can check on that. I'm not sure that we can put anything that's optional in registration. Does that
Okay.
make sense? So like everything, and you can maybe think through the process and find something that was optional, but I feel like all the criteria in there, you had to either mark yes or no, or have some sort of response to. If there's a way to do it, and it's expandable, I think that'd be fine. We have a lot of parents that have a really hard time comprehending the entire registration process to begin with. It actually can take a long time to get through, so we'd want to really think through usability. There's a lot more parents that, so if you think about 5,000 students, what % of parents are going to be filling out that volunteer information?
Yep.
Probably not too many, hopefully more, right? But large majority of people wouldn't, if that makes sense. So I just don't know how usable that would be.
Okay.
Yeah, and we could, we could maybe have some conversation with the principals about, is this something that we would want to send home through Remind, shortly after the school year starts, or obviously, I think some of the levels of buildings have a lot more opportunities to volunteer than probably other levels, but that might be more effective to actually send it from the building to the parents of that building versus just a mass district type of email or making it part of the process.
If it could be in Infinite Campus or Bound, that would be excellent.
Yeah, so you could get to it.
So you can get to
Right.
it easily, fill it out.
That I
have-
think we could do.
have some sort of I like what you're saying as well about different buildings are going to have different opportunities for volunteering, and I know some of the PTAs or PTOs have kind of
Right.
sign-ups for parent volunteers for different things at the beginning of the year, so if we can customize it by building, that would probably be helpful as well, just so that parents know what opportunities, anything we can do to get them to know what opportunities exist for volunteering in the schools as early as possible, I think would be good as well.
I believe Fisher Elementary does something similar. My daughter goes to Fisher, and I remember seeing something in the Remind about different volunteer opportunities, and it had like the link so you can fill it out. Remind me, how long is this form good for? Is it just 1 year or more? Because I know I had to do like a
Jackie?
background check, but I
Jackie, do you
can't
know?
remember the length. Is it
It is more.
5? Okay. Okay. Sorry, I know I filled it out a couple years and wasn't
It is
sure.
more than 1 year because I used to have volunteers for BU. And I think it's either every 3 years.
Okay.
You do a background check, but it's different when it's a student.
Well, and it's also different if you're only doing it one time.
Yeah, if you're only doing it one
If you're
time.
only doing it one time, we don't spend the money to do a
Right.
complete background check. However, if you're going to do it with great frequency, then yes, we are going to do background check. And so it would be more than 1 year.
I'll have to check with my daughter's school to see if I'm due for it or not. But I did wanted to point out that I know some schools do share this, like a list of different volunteer opportunities, and they provide a link so you can fill it out online.
And I know
That's
when my
wonderful.
children were at Woodbury Elementary, it was a part of their parent-teacher conferences in the fall. So I think every school maybe does it a little bit different, but, yep.
That's another great opportunity.
Yeah, I think because it does last longer than a year, going back to registration, it wouldn't make sense to make it a part of that because registration is something that we do on an annual basis. But if we could somehow make it a
In
part of
Infinite
Infinite
Campus.
Campus and accessible there, we could give instructions on how to get to it.
Well, and I know in Bound, now it tells you when something is no longer effective, so you could set an effective date, and you have to have a parent registration as well as your child registration in Bound, so
Yeah.
that might be another option.
We'll have to explore that.
Yeah, the other reason why I think it's best, being a building-based is because we wouldn't want to solicit all kinds of volunteers and not have stuff for them to do either, you know, at different levels, so. But this provides some good food for thought. Thanks for the question, Zach.
One last question, and is it building, like say if you have 4 kids in the district, 4 different schools, do you have to have 4 forms or will one form satisfy, one form? Okay,
Yes, one form should do it.
okay.
And Sarah Flugie processes those in the HR office.
All right.
Any other questions about those policies? If not, let's see, 103R1, 103-1, and 90302E1 will be marked as reviewed, and 103R2 will come back the next meeting for a first reading to amend. Welp, that's kind of about the end of the road here, guys. Abby, do you have anything for communications?
No, not this time.
Okay. Reminders, Maria's got initial review policies for the September 16th meeting. No committee reports. Any items for a future meeting agenda?
We'll have a lot more on the future meetings, and we'll have our 5 student school board reps at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, what have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
We approved some more math
Math
curriculum.
curriculum. Too much. Math curriculum.
Yep. And I'm not quite sure what the addendum to that teacher para apprentices program does, but I know that program hopefully will be beneficial to the students in Marshalltown, or has already been, so. Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Faltus, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. We are adjourned, and we'll make our way over to the high school.
Yeah, I think this was a record, a modern day record.